Golden Globes just had their 81st annual ceremony, and people had a lot to say about it. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. I'm your host Dana, and today we are talking about the top 10 embarrassing moments from the 2024 Golden Globes caught on camera. Starting off our list, we have how Joe Koy was described as the worst host ever. Now, Joe Koy is supposed to be a comedian, which means he's supposed to be funny, but he had the crowd pity laughing because his bits turned into more of a monologue, and people were less than impressed. He claimed he only got the gig 10 days before the event, so if they wanted him to be a perfect host, they should just shut up. Isn't it your whole job to be able to make and write jokes that are funny? No one expects perfection, but it could have at least been polished. Fans were blasting him on social media about his comments on Robert De Niro as well, because Joe said that he was sorry that he was a fan of his. And the fact that Robert De Niro got his 29-year-old girlfriend pregnant was his best performance yet, considering he's 80. While it did make the crowd laugh, his jokes came off as abrasive rather than funny. Which brings me to my next point. Joe Koy's jokes about Taylor Swift. One of the more abrasive jokes he made was about Taylor Swift, and we know how well those jokes go over. Well, the joke in question was that the difference between the Golden Globes and an NFL game was that there was less coverage of Taylor Swift. Some people gasped and other people chuckled, but Taylor did not appreciate it. She didn't even crack a smile. She just pursed her lips, took a sip of her drink, and glared at him with pure malice. The fact that she was just there for attendance made it worse, because she was there with her friends, notably Selena Gomez, who we'll talk more about later. But he went out of his way to call her out and felt the wrath of Swift fans. Which brings us to the next point, about how Joe Koy was backpedaling on the joke. After his hosting, Twitter went a little haywire. Fans were saying things like how he just walked on set and said, "I'm hosting," and no one did a background check to make sure that was a good idea. And that the audience was pity laughing because of his Barbie jokes, and it was more than obvious he missed the point of the movie. That and his monologue was just plain awful. But when fans got to the Swift jokes, he began backpedaling, trying to defend himself, saying that Taylor and Travis's relationship is cute. There just happened to be fewer cutaways. He then said, maybe she was just thirsty, maybe she just needed a drink and it was weird timing. No man, your joke wasn't funny and she didn't appreciate that. She's made it clear she was only at the games to support Travis, and she isn't worried about pissing off other fans, because she's just there for him, not for them. Following that up, we have Timothée Chalamet and Kylie Jenner's appearance. To wrap my head around the fact that Timothée Chalamet is dating Kylie Jenner is already a hard one to picture, considering he looks 14 but he's really 28 and she's 26 but she looks 30. But because he was nominated, no one was really surprised he brought his girlfriend as a date. However, in classic Hollywood fashion, they showed up late, but they were adorable all the same. They were wearing matching black sequin outfits and were displaying a good amount of PDA throughout the ceremony, and were caught being absolutely smitten with one another. While it's adorable, it caused a little bit of tension, which brings me to the next point, about Kylie's protective energy. Of course, you can't blame Kylie for being protective, but when Selena Gomez asked Timothée for a photo because you know he's a famous actor, Kylie stepped in and said no. Selena took that back to the table and shared this with Taylor Swift, who she is really good friends with, like I mentioned before. But this isn't as surface level as Kylie being protective. It goes as far back as Selena's beef with Hailey Bieber. Taylor and Selena are besties, and Hailey and Kylie were besties. So obviously there's still some residual hate from Kylie towards Selena because of the incident that happened over the previous years. But you'd think she'd feel safe enough in their relationship that she wouldn't mind letting him take photos with fans. The whole thing seemed to have an off vibe to it, but it was embarrassing that Kylie had her insecurities outed like that. Next on the list, we have how Barbie was practically ignored despite winning. Now, Barbie was a smash at the box office, making $155 million on opening weekend alone, but aside from the jokes, it was relatively ignored throughout the ceremony. Now, that's not saying they didn't win. Billie Eilish won an award for the best song in a movie, while 2 other songs from the movie were nominated as well, and the movie itself won a cinematic and box office achievement. But the movie was nominated for a good chunk of the categories. Considering how many memes there were, how many songs were streamed from the movies, and how it affected the entire internet algorithm, I feel like it deserved a little more recognition than what it got, and it's almost embarrassing that it didn't. To follow that, we have how Studio Ghibli beat out Disney. Now, this is a huge feat. Disney owns just about everything, and they dominate the animation business, owning Pixar, Blue Sky, as well as a few other animation studios aside from DreamWorks. So for Studio Ghibli to pull ahead and out on top is incredible. They have a Japanese art style that's truly beautiful and magical, and it's been flying under the radar for years, considering they haven't released a new full-length movie in years as well. And they haven't made such a huge theater debut in decades. So for them to not only win, but beat out Disney Pixar's Elements and Disney's Wish, as well as Into the Spider-Verse, because Sony is also owned by Disney, while it's incredible that they won, the Disney name has to feel some embarrassment considering they had 3 movies in the running and still lost. Next up, we have how Killers of the Moonflower was also widely ignored. Now, this was predicted by a lot of avid movie watchers considering the nature of the film compared to everything else that was released this year. They received 7 nominations over many categories, but only won a single award. And it wasn't for the movie itself, but rather Lily Gladstone's portrayal of her character in the movie. So there has to be some embarrassment there. The fact that they lost on every front except hers. They say you can't win them all, but they didn't win any for the movie itself. But it did have a more serious subject matter compared to some of the other winners, and it wasn't received as well in theaters nor streaming services, considering it was a Paramount and Apple TV original. They were beaten out by mostly Oppenheimer, which makes sense overall, but it's still unfortunate for the movie cast and crew. Overall, fans may have enjoyed it, but like many other things, the Academy did not care for it. Second to last, we have how Timothée Chalamet was there for one category. Not only was he there for his role in Wonka, and was only nominated for 2 categories technically, both based on his character, but he lost in both categories as well. He and Kylie walked in there like they were big shot talk of the town just for him to lose. The least they could have done was be there on time to create less of a spectacle for themselves, since he seemed very confident he had the win. That's what happens when you get too full of yourself and your acting skills. You lose in front of your girlfriend, and the embarrassment from that was enough to take him down a notch. And last but not least, we have how the entire thing was described as lame and chaotic. Between Joe Koy's secondhand embarrassing monologue, which caused even Selena Gomez to bow and shake her head, to the lack of excitement from many attendees, it was described as rushed and unpolished, like he could have used some refining before he went on stage. People even described this year's Golden Globes overall as forgettable, and it was just a blur of talking heads and jokes that fell flat. At least this year, the champagne wasn't lukewarm like Jennifer Lawrence predicted. Out of the 81 Golden Globes, this one was ranked at a level D of entertaining. It's embarrassing for the Academy, I suppose. And that is going to be our list for today. If there was any embarrassing moment you think we missed, you can let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I have been your host Dana, this has been Beyond the Screen, and thank you so much for watching.